TWITTA.com. Spring football coming up here, and we'll talk more about it with Derek Stingley Sr., but after what I saw on Saturday, my primary concern for LSU going into the summer, going into the fall, is the offensive line. I think when you look around LSU's spring game and the 15 practices and what you take away from just kind of this point of view is, like I said last week, I don't think that you'll have an idea of what the overriding changes were going to be because of the personnel that was going to be missing. I don't think that you were going to get a real good idea of what LSU was going to look like offensively as far as the scheme went when you talked about not wanting to show because you were on television, you were on the SEC network, and there were going to be a lot of people that had access to that game and filming and watching, and you just weren't going to show your true hand. Some of the things that stood out to me in watching LSU just scrimmage for 2 hours is that they have offensive line concerns going into the summer. While you've got some solid pieces, you've got limited depth, and you've got questions in your starting five, in my opinion. And the first question starts with right guard. Who's going to be the right guard? Is it going to be Chasen Hines or is it going to be Anthony Bradford? Both guys at times looked shaky. Both times there were times when both guys looked solid. I would move Austin Deculus to right guard. I've never heard that talked about, but there's no way that Deculus is a pro tackle, right? I mean, we just look at him and his production. He's a guard at the next level if he wants to play. Not only do you sue that remedy, but I think that makes you your best offensive line with a guy like Deculus inside. I've never heard it talked about. I don't know how much it's been done, and I know that there were experiments early on in Deculus's career that had him, kind of going back and forth, and a need at tackle pushed him outside. But whether they can fulfill an open tackle spot by moving Deculus, I don't know. But he just looks like an interior guy to me.
Well, and if your starting quarterback's going to be left-handed, that right tackle is essentially left tackle.
Yeah.
So that's something that people don't really think about a whole lot, but it does make a huge difference. That's his blind side. So you might have to reconfigure the offensive line as a whole if that's the way we're going, which I think some people think we are.
Yeah, and then when you look at the depth concerns, I mean, if one person gets hurt, I don't know what they're going to do.
That's what we said Friday, and that did not make me feel any better at all after seeing what we saw on Saturday. It was just that's a huge concern. It has to be
an enormous concern, and I think that that was the biggest concerning takeaway was the offensive line. I think you've got a limited amount of playmakers on the outside of Kayshon Boutte on campus right now. I think that you've got some guys coming, but, I mean, those guys as true freshmen, whether it's Chris Hilton, whether it's Brian Thomas, whether it's Malik Neighbors, whether it's Jack Besh, or whether it's a guy like Deion Smith who's already on campus and looked good in, flashes on Saturday. I thought he looked good running some routes. Is going to have to make an impact because it won't take long for defenses to just start taking Boutte out. I mean, he is dynamic. He's Jamar Chase sophomore season where it feels like he can almost score it every time he touches it.
You see what Chase said? That one looks good on you, boy.
It does. I mean, when you turn on the TV, it kind of
reminds you.
Very much looks like him physically, and then you watch the way he attacks the ball in the air. His run after the catch. I mean, he stole that ball from.
That was Jamar Chase.
I mean,
that's the Jamar Chase.
Dwight McLaughlin knew he had that ball at the end of the quarter, at the end of the half that Brennan threw up to him. And I mean, Boutte just stole it from him. He just went up and said, "That's my football. I'm the better player here. I'm the better athlete. I'm going up and grabbing it." And he's going to do that to people all season long. But it won't take long for SEC defensive coordinators, making $650,000 plus up to, over $1 million to figure out, just take one out.
Well,
I mean,
was promising Kirkland with 199 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I thought Jontre Kirkland was a promising spot. I'm not yet ready to put all my confidence in that he can be an SEC number 2 wide receiver. I mean, think about when you took Chase out of the game, Justin Jefferson was going to kill you, and if you tried to get Jefferson, Marshall was coming at you in waves. Those are the types of playmakers that LSU needs because of the defenses that you're going to see. I mean, I think that you're going to have more than one dynamic playmaker, a guy that can just blow the top off of a defense or catch a wide receiver screen, make two people miss, and hit the house from 60 yards out. There's got to be more people on the roster, and I think while all these freshmen have that reputation, all of them, somebody on the current roster right now needs to step up. And I think that Trey Palmer is probably that guy.
Saw that punt return.
Is the punt return and the athleticism, but he's got to be available. He's
not.
He's battled injury, and it's kept him from taking that next step. You see the flashes, you see what he can be. Now he's got to stay healthy and be trustable because you hate to put that pressure on Thomas coming in, on Hilton coming in, on Neighbors, on all these guys as true freshmen because there's going to be a time that they have to get acclimated to the game. So I think offensive line, another playmaker somewhere outside of Keyshawn Butte and needs to step up. I thought defensively the defensive line looked fantastic. I mean, they are deep. They're athletic. Jaquelin Roy looks like he's set to bust out here in the second season. Like he looks as if he is kind of going into that Glenn Dorsey stratosphere, that young Glenn Dorsey. I'm not yet to tabbing, I don't want to tab him Dorsey-esque, but he just feels like he's on the doorstep of busting out to one of those guys in the SEC that you talk about every week that is going to be a problem.
Like you would say the floor is Rashard Lawrence and the ceiling is Glenn Dorsey, which
Absolutely.
is not a problem to have at all.
Yeah, he's entering a pretty good comparison group when you're talking about who he's up against in SEC and LSU history, just the chance that he has and the feeling around him and the depth that goes into that. I mean, everybody, Neil Farrell. Yeah, I mean, the outside guys, but I mean, I'm talking about the inside guys, Jaquelin Roy, Jacoby, and Guillory. I mean, we saw a little bit of Eric Taylor, who's huge. I mean, I forgot about Eric Taylor.
Glenn Logan.
Yeah, I mean, all the veteran guys are going to be there. And then those outside guys, I mean, you mentioned B.J. Ojolari. I thought, how about Antoine Sampa at linebacker with an interception? I mean, some new faces making some plays. Derek Stingley Jr. looked, I mean, a lot of people.
Unbelievably so. He's getting, forgotten about almost because the way he carries himself and the way he kind of goes about his business like a professional since he stepped on campus, it's just he feels like a luxury.
Yeah.
And people don't talk about him at all. He should be mentioned as obviously what he is, one of the best playmakers in college football, and he's not.
I think he hears that. I think that this is
let me catch a couple punts.
Yeah, this is a good spot for him to be motivated. I mean, there was no Eli Ricks in that game. There was no Allie Gay on the outside opposite of Ojolari in that game. So I mean, there were some missing key components when you talk about some guys that they'll be counting on, but there were also some bright spots. I thought Jay Ward looked great at safety. He's flying. I thought Dwight McLaughlin looked good as a playmaker back there at number 2. Obviously, Stingley, Cardell Flott.
Rodarius Jones.
Rodarius Jones is another one. Eli Ricks didn't play. So, I mean, there's another guy that'll be coming back. So,
when you say these names and see what they've done, you got to think that we should be good.
Oh, I think defensively they're going to be stout. I think defensively they are going to be. They got dudes at every level.
That's what I'm saying. You can name drop this team.
But offensively, I think that they're going to be in trouble on that offensive line. The offensive line, to me, after watching on Saturday, you think about who they're going to have to block this season in the SEC, and obviously LSU's unit up there is pretty good because they were giving them hell, but they're going to run into groups deeper and better than that at times, and I just don't know how they can sustain and keep up without the depth, because they've got zero depth right now, and they've got to be able to create that.
I think the only thing to counteract counteract that. So you got to get the ball out quick.
Yeah, and that's what they're obviously doing. Pete's has obviously gotten back to that formula where he's getting the ball to guys in space and he's just letting them move and he's letting them run. I thought the concepts of the offense, of just some of the things that you saw. I mean, getting Bootsy the ball, rolling right, kind of coming back left to a lot of open space, quick deliveries, letting these guys just kind of catch and run. I thought you see what they're trying to do and conceptually what they're and who they're going to be, kind of in the season.